Tricia Broderick, co-author of Lead Without Blame, is a highly respected leadership and organizational advisor with over 25 years of experience. She excels in helping individuals and teams thrive in an often chaotic world. Known for her authenticity and passion, Tricia is a sought-after leader, advisor, trainer, facilitator, and motivational keynote speaker. In 2020, she founded Ignite Insight Plus Innovation to further her mission of igniting what's possible. And specifically today, she is focused on helping herself and others build resilience. And that's the title of her talk, Building Resilience. This is your keynote speaker for day one. Give a big round of applause to Tricia Broderick. Woo!
Thank you. So Kent Beck started today talking about the forest and the desert, and he talked about what it was necessary to succeed. And we all want to succeed. We all come to work to succeed. I know you're thinking of somebody that's coming to work to drive you insane, but one, if they're sitting next to you, don't say their name. But two, we all come with this goal. Now, as Kat pointed out, we might have different goals. We might have different ways of approaching things, different ideas when it comes to what success might look like. But we all want to be successful. We all want to be engaged, to produce, to make an impact. And no matter if you're in the forest, personally, I want to be in the forest, or the desert, resilience is necessary. My name is Tricia Broderick. I'm a leadership advisor. And I've had a lot of different roles over my career. I used to put a fake title up there just to see if anybody could guess which one it is, because it just doesn't matter what the titles are anymore. But when I look back at my career and I think about what made it successful, why I was being successful, resilience was a factor in it. But I'd like to lie to you and say it was intentional, but it wasn't. But when I look back now, hindsight's always easier to see patterns, for me to realize, oh, that contributed to why this made a difference. That contributed to why it was impactful. I don't code anymore, but I do have a son in computer science, and I fixed his homework the other night. It made me super happy. But it is still my passion area. It's still where I come from, and I'm going to try and have a lot of the stories all focus in on that. So let's talk through this for a second. Now, first part of it is just kind of that definition, and this is from Diana Larson and Mai's book, Lead Without Blame. And there's a lot of different things that are out there when it comes to resilience and what that means. But it's really where we're focused and where I'm focused today is on our ability, myself, yours, even us as a collective when it comes to the workplace and different areas of what we're talking about. When crap goes down. And that seems like the norm these days. I didn't even know a fire tornado was possible. I definitely did not predict COVID. I definitely didn't know you could have an inland hurricane, and that's just the climate and pandemic level things, let alone the challenges and the chaos that you're facing in your workplace, in your neighborhoods, in your communities. So I would love to tell you this magical checklist. If you just follow these steps, here's exactly how you'll be resilient in everything. And then you should fire me for anything you hire me for, because I'm full of it. And because there isn't necessarily one thing. But there are some patterns. There are some things that we can be looking at that are kind of pieces of a puzzle. It's not the complete puzzle. By the way, I do puzzles, and my family has taken to hiding one puzzle piece every single puzzle. I'm very, very mad at my family for this, and they have continued this for years, okay? But we've got puzzles, and so I think about these pieces. And so what I'm going to talk about are 4 pieces to resilience. Not the full, complete picture, but at least 4 pieces to resilience and what that's going to look like. And we're going to go through these on a kind of a, not just a high-level view, but just say, what is something tangible you can do when it comes to that? So the first one that I want to talk about is compassion. And so how I define compassion is concern and care for yourself and others. Now, people always say things like, It's business, it's not personal. First of all, you're quoting a fictional movie about a mob family. Stop it. That's not your business best practice. Okay? It's a movie is where that quote comes from. Don't be quoting that anymore. It is personal. Compassion is necessary in the workplace. It's not just for your home life with things. And so I think about when it comes to compassion, we lie to ourselves and we say things like this. We are a team. We're in this together. But labeling something a team doesn't make it so. Just calling yourselves a team doesn't mean that you're really in it together, doesn't mean that you're really working together. And so I like to really take a moment to just kind of clearly identify some of those different things that we unfortunately label teams that are not. So the first one is just individuals. This is when you first start a company, you first join a team. You're worried about your own success, your own skills, whether you're going to like people and things like that. But very few of us in software development get hired and know that we're never going to have to talk to anybody else. I know some of you want that, but most of us hire with the expectation that we have to talk with other people. So a group is where you cooperate. I want you to think of a group as like a relay race. 4 people, but you each have a part. You do the first, second, third, fourth. And if that second person falls down, no one blames the anchor for losing the race. Now you can get up afterwards and you're like, we all win or lose together. But everybody knows that second person fell down. In fact, I could get a bonus if I hit a PR. Even if we lost the race, if my part was good, I could still get a bonus. And so many of our organizations are not only organized for groups, but they're optimized for group behavior. They want you cooperating. I will help you with your part as long as my part gets done. But the minute we're in knowledge work, the minute that we have to discover, that we have to figure out what value even is, we need at least a team. And a team moves from cooperation to collaboration. So groups are cooperation is my part, your part. Collaboration is let's build this together. And when we build things together, we actually get better ideas. How many people, by a show of hands, have ever collaborated where you feel both energized and exhausted, but you came up with something way better than you would have ever done by yourself? Right? It's amazing, but it's not something that we are, especially in the US, often taught. My son's version of computer science collaboration was he was the only one checking things into Git, but everybody else got 80% of the score. It's not collaboration. It's not actually, but he's like, well, that's what group projects are. I'm like, no, that's not even a group. It's bad. But we confuse cooperation and collaboration as if it's the same thing, and yet collaboration is where we start to actually unlock that next level of wisdom, where we need to discover value together by the wisdom of the crowd, or just as Diane and I refer to co-intelligence. Now, to get people to a team, the leader has to be a hub. And what I mean by a hub is, hi, my name is Tricia Broderick. I have to make sure no balls drop. I can't possibly go to a craft conference. I have to check my email every 5 minutes. If things are blowing up, I got to check that. Anybody sitting by somebody or know a friend that has that feeling all day today where they keep wanting to check their emails and Slack messages or text because, oh no, the world's coming to an end because you're not present? With good intent, right? Like you want to deliver, you want your team to deliver, but you don't scale. And so in order for scaling to start to happen and performance to take another level, you want what's referred to as a high-performing team or a self-organizing team. And people hear the word self-organizing and they hear no leaders. That's just adorable. First of all, you can't just skip to high-performing. Just self-organize. Go, self-organize. It would be chaos. That said, too many leaders are not taught how to stop being the hub. The desert, as Kent Beck said, of control and what that looks like. I mean, by a show of hands, how many people have a job description that says the word drive in it if you're a leader or a manager, right? Like drive it to the results. That's gonna cause you problems with self-organization. So we work and help leaders kind of get to that space, learn those skills, because nobody taught them when I became a leader. They were like, here's how you need to do strategy or visioning or delegation. No one told me about facilitation or learning how to speak or mentoring or any of these other areas. But I watched something happen that the more the leaders became less of a hub, the more panic set in. Uh-oh, I have no job. In addition, an interesting thing happened in 2020 where I had a lot of teams that were performing as high-performing, self-organizing teams, and then COVID hit and chaos hit, and the team just went, just give me my part, I'll do it when I can at home. And they like reverted really quickly back to group, and I'm like, no! Because it turns out there's actually something that I should have been doing more as a leader and is helping the team learn how to be resilient, helping the team learn how to learn, helping the team embrace that complexity, that chaos, and what that's going to look like. And part of that is by building the resilience. Now, when I think about a resilient learning team, I think about how much are you creating intentional collaboration in order to build compassion. So what I mean by this is, I built a leadership course with a colleague of mine. And while we were co-building this, it wasn't like, you go do this module, I'll go do this module, right? It was, let's build this together. What I learned was some of his traumas, some of his weaponization that occurred to him in the workplace where people were like, estimate. He gives an estimate. He says it's a guess. And then you're like, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet? And now he's like terrified of any estimate. And I was like, oh, that's why every time I ask you what you think, you like immediately panic a little bit. It brought us collaborating together, gave us a deeper connection with each other, a deeper understanding of what they're passionate about, what I'm passionate about, what I'm triggered. Like, if you're collaborating with me and you comment in my face, it's called unhappy resting face, people. I'm not mad, but don't comment on my face or you're gonna see mad. Because as I keep getting older, it seems to get angrier, right? And so, but you start to have compassion and understanding because you're connecting to that individual. You're collaborating, you're building together, and you're proud of what you're building. And when you're proud of your building, you're not only less blaming people, but you're also feel really invested in somebody. By a show of hands, how many people will like feel, there's somebody in their career that they're like, I'd go to bat for that person, right? Not that I'm never a big fan of leaders that say things like, if I told them to stand in front of a bus, they will. No, that's not a good statement to make. Like, that's not what you want to be encouraging, okay? That said, when you build that compassion through collaboration, it's not a trust fall. It's not a game of chicken with people. It's true connection. And when I have true connection, I then actually are invested in your learning, in your growth, and your well-being, which when you feel safe, you're delivering your best work. So really move, are you cooperating or are you collaborating? The next one I want to talk about is confidence. And this is the belief in abilities, again, yours and others. So again, we tell ourselves lies. I trust them. I'm not a hub. I trust them. So I need a volunteer. Oh, flower shirt, come on up. Thank you, so quick. Everybody give a round of applause for the volunteer coming up. And this should just work, they said. Okay, so join me over here. Join me over here. It will be really easy, I promise. So share audience with your name.
Hi, I'm Katalin.
Welcome. Say hello and welcome. Okay, so I have a deck of cards, like playing cards, okay? I have black, I have red. Please pick.
Red.
Perfect. Got heart cards, got diamond cards. Please pick.
Diamond.
Perfect. Get rid of those. Got face of heart cards, got non-face of heart cards. Please pick.
Non-facing.
No face. Perfect. Get rid of that. Got ace, king of hearts or queen, jack of hearts. Please pick. Ace, king of hearts or queen, jack of hearts?
So it's non-facing.
That's ace, king of hearts or
Ace.
queen, jack of
Ace.
hearts? Ace king or queen jack?
Ace king.
Ace king, getting rid of that. So you got queen of hearts or the jack of hearts. Please pick.
Queen of.
Queen of hearts. Okay, let's see if I guessed it correctly. Round of applause for our volunteer. Thank you.
For you.
Yes. And here is a book for you. Thank you. Thank you. So what did I just do to our wonderful volunteer? I know, it's a shout out and a keynote. I manipulated the crap out of you. I'm so sorry. That's why I gave her a book, okay? Now, for some of you, are like, what did she just do? So I'll just explain. It didn't matter what she said. I didn't say, which do you want to keep? I just said, please pick. So no matter what she said, I was going to either get rid of it or keep it until I got down to the Queen of Hearts. For those that want to try this, practice first, okay? And even at one point, she questioned it a little bit. She was like, no, non-face. And what did I just have to do? Just reassure, you're doing it well, keep going, it's good. Because I have a power dynamic. I'm on the stage, it's in a pressure situation. I can always get you to say the Queen of Hearts. Now the crazy part about this is often, especially in Agile, when leaders hear, well, I'm supposed to do self-organization, and I'm not supposed to be the hub, and I'm supposed to be getting them collaborating together. And I'm not supposed to have all the answers. I know what I'll do. I'll manipulate them. By a show of hands, how many people have ever caught somebody in the moment when they were doing this? Like, where you're just like, tell me what you want me to say. Just tell me what you want me to say, because clearly I'm not answering it the way you want to answer. Manipulation is not leadership, and it's not trust. It's not having confidence in people. But it's hard to do if you're not intentional about it. So in order to build confidence, both in yourself and in other people, be intentional when it comes to building teaching situations. If you do have this knowledge, I'm not saying like you see your team's about to fall off a cliff and you're like, ha, 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 ha. I'll just sit back and watch them like fall off the cliff because it's not my fault. Yes, it is. That's not leadership. That said, don't Queen of Hearts somebody. Don't manipulate them to an answer that's in your head. Because one, that answer might be wrong. But two, you're not actually building two-way trust. You need to start trusting their knowledge, their capabilities, their confidence in their making self-choices. And they need to be building confidence in you and how you will react to things. So I built this learning program at a work when I was a director, and it could have been really easy for me to just teach all the classes. I knew the content. I could teach all the classes. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be intentional about helping other people realize their skills, realize what they were capable of, see the potential, build their own confidence. So I started going, who wants to take on building this course? And the best part about it at the end was it was so much better than what I would have built. In addition, they had confidence and I had confidence in them. You will stay the expert if you continue to act like you're the only expert. So are you being intentional about building that trust? Just telling people, I trust them, but is not the same as being intentional about it. To really thinking through, what is it that I know that's making everybody dependent on me for that question? What is it that I am the expert on that's making everybody make me the single point of failure, the bottleneck? And how do I start sharing that as a leader, especially? Courage. Third one. Engage in the risky unknown, which is almost like wake up the next day. Now, courage is one of these tricky ones where it's similar to calm down. Anybody ever have somebody tell you to calm down? Does it work? Not once. I once told my husband to calm down, and he was like, that doesn't work. So then I tried, freak out. That does work, by the way. It did shock him for a moment and make him go, what is going on right now? Right? But you can't look at somebody and just go, have courage. Oh, is that all I need to do? So easy. No, courage is hard and it's different for different people. This doesn't make me nervous. Sometimes I wish it did, but getting up and talking on stage doesn't make me nervous, but that doesn't mean I have courage in all parts of my life. And people have different things that they need more courage on that seem super simple to you. That's no big deal for you, but is terrifying for another person. I have no problems being on stage. We walked a hiking path here, and something moved in the leaves, and I screamed so loudly and terrified everybody walking with me. Because it was an animal, and unless you're a dog, I'm terrified of you. And so courage is one of these areas that, okay, if I can't just look at myself and say, be courageous, you've got this, I had to start looking at it from a different perspective. And this is one of the ones that I kind of backed into the tip and understanding what it really meant. So I'm going to share a story that highlights this tip for a minute. I was at a conference, and I was walking around the corner of the conference, and I heard my name. Tricia's not a super common name, so a healthy mental person would have just engaged in the conversation. This person stopped to listen to what they were saying, okay? And what I heard was, is Tricia your token female? And my colleague responded with the most incredible compliments. He was saying things I didn't even agree with. Like things I was like, well, that's not true. That's nice, but no. He was so wonderful in praising me and lifting me up with these things. But in that moment, I found myself getting mad at him. And I didn't understand at all. I was struggling because I was like, I don't get why I'm mad. I absolutely adore this person. He was wonderful in his praise to me. Why am I mad at him? And honestly, in that moment, he ended up seeing me, came up to me, and I was like, I'm mad at you. I need a minute. And I walked away. I couldn't even have the words. And what I realized when I sat with it is out of all the things he said, the thing he didn't say was, what a crappy question. I'm tired. I have been doing this for over 25 years. COBOL. But I'm tired. How many more things do I need to do before that's not the question anymore? Write a book, done, still get the question. Run a conference, done, still get the question. Keynote. Wasn't going to share this, but I've seen Dan right now, I'm going to share it. I panic every time I'm listed as the keynote when I have to announce it. Because I don't know what troll is going to come out and critique that I got it because I'm a female. I just got announced to be the Agile 2025 keynote, and that was my first conference. That's the one that I've been going to since 2007. It's a big deal for me. It feels kind of full circle. And I was anxious about the announcement. And when that got announced, before I could even blink, several wonderful people in the community, including Dan North, commented, about time, or amazing, finally, you're gonna rock it, this is awesome. And an interesting thing happened out of that. I didn't get one single troll this time. Not one, well, at least not to my face. I now start thinking about courage in a slightly different way as a leader, as somebody in a position of privilege and power. What is my silence saying? When I choose not to speak up, what is that saying? Because when I think about that, and I realize what that is actually sending in terms of a message to somebody, it gets really easy to get a little bit more courageous. Because it just feels like the right thing to do. And I don't want the other scenario. Courage is never something you're just like, oh, got it, fine. But when I, as a leader, think about how many times I didn't say anything because it was just easier. It would blow over. It was not a big deal. I wouldn't be offended by it. All these different things. Fear of being, I had somebody like, aren't you afraid you're going to be known as the fun police? I don't care anymore because I know what the silence might be sending instead. And that gives me the courage to speak up. Now, you might be going, Tricia, you're on the fourth one, and you still have like 30-plus minutes. You don't know time management. Yeah, fourth one's complexity, so it'd be ironic if I did complexity really quickly. So we're going to go through complexity and talking about just exploring the bigger context, the bigger picture with things, and embracing it and what that might look like. Now, again, we lie. I'm an agilist. And I say dumb things all the time like, I love to learn. I lied, people, I lied. Because learning is hard, and yet learning is the very thing we need most when it comes to complexity. If it's the whole point is the unknowns, the unexpected, learning is the only thing that's going to keep you moving forward. But that doesn't mean learning is the same for everybody or easy always. In fact, we treat learning like it's this hidden, off to the side, secret thing that you might do once a quarter. When in reality, every day to do your work is learning. But we treat it like, nope, once a quarter, if we have time available, you can do a learning project. Like, it's insanity. But part of that is because we hit these brick walls when it comes to learning. Now, I did not own this about myself. I was doing talks about how you need to embrace learning and all these kinds of things until I started doing something that was challenging, and I realized what these inhibitors really meant. And so I'm going to go through these inhibitors when it comes to complexity and how it looks like. So the first one is learning has baggage. Now, in order to really kind of emphasize this, I need to explain how I really realized it and what it meant. So I would say something like this to myself. I'm successful if in the workplace. I would put this condition on myself. This is what success meant. If I was a lead developer, and then if I went into, became a director of development, and then if I owned my own company, like I would decide what success looked like up front. And so one year, back in 2023, on January 1st, my girlfriend and I decided that our learning challenge for the year was going to be doing a 10-second freestanding handstand. And I put it out there. I put it transparently out there. Now, what I don't say to anybody is you should not make these decisions on January 1st slightly intoxicated. Bad idea. 2, there was actually interest, though. People were intrigued by this. Like, really? As you approach 50, you're going to do this? Like, there was some level of trolling, but also interest. What I don't tell anybody is that my husband pushed me up onto the wall. My son took the photo really quickly. But it looks good. Like, that looks like a good starting point. The reality was I couldn't even kick up to the wall. And yet I had decided that my goal, my learning goal, was a 10-second freestanding handstand. Why? Because anything else seemed not cool. I'm successful only if I do a 10-second. I can't even do a cartwheel, people. I was not a gymnast. This is a volleyball frame, okay? Not a gymnast frame. And I couldn't even kick up. But I was like, no, the 10-second goal is the only goal. And I was like, oh my gosh, how many times in the workplace do we set our goals based on perceptions, based on imaginary kind of context, baggage that we have of what success looks like? I had a mentee that was like, I have to be an executive. And I was like, why? And he's like, because that's what success is. And he became an executive and then called me and said, I hate my life. And I was like, what? Why was that your goal? And so many people don't know what the real purpose is, don't know what they're really trying to accomplish or why, and how much baggage is influencing those goals. Comparative, competitions. I honestly thought for a little bit today as I was going to different sessions today, I was like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this talk here? Like that's academic, like that just flew over my head. I am not this intelligent, right? And then I was like thinking, oh my gosh, I have this if I'm successful. And we start creating this baggage that makes it difficult to learn. So when you're thinking about your goals, your learning, your embracing of complexity, what's driving it, right? Are you reaching too high, too right off the bat because it's a perception thing versus, hey, I like it when I can just sit in a room with Dave Snowden. I don't know, like it's terrifying to me sometimes because I was like, oh my gosh, you're so brilliant, right? And I have this panic a little bit when it comes to there. What are you setting in terms of your goals? What does it look like in that for you, in your workplace, in your time? Because if you don't know your goals, and why they are your goals, it gets harder to deal with the complexity. Second one, it means change. Now, this is where people are like, well, no kidding. If you're learning something, you're changing something. But again, we'll lie to ourselves. I lied to myself. I said something like, I'm not as good as so-and-so, so why do I even bother? I just did it on stage just a second ago. I forgot this was the next lie I say, right? Like I just did it in comparison. But we do this to ourselves a lot, and especially when there's fear and panic and chaos, layoffs and uncertainty in the world, all these things make these lies even bigger. And so a lot of times I think about when it means change, and I realize that I heard the speaker, and I wish I could quote the speaker's name. I don't know. If anybody ends up learning who this is, please tell me. This is not my statement. But she said, I love change that I initiate. And I was like, that's brilliant, right? But a lot of times, so much change is done to us. And I think, but I'm an agilist. I love change. What's the problem? And then, again, the handstand journey. So I was like, first time I got any bit of hang time was in a hotel room, hence the towel on the ground. I thought the towel was my secret sauce, so I kept using the towel for a really long time. It was not. But I started getting a little bit better. I started figuring some things out, and I was like, okay, look, I can get a freeze frame on a video that looks good. But I couldn't hold it. And so I started asking, what's the change I got to make? What am I doing wrong? And someone said, look between your hands. And this is the part about change that is difficult to deal with because it's not linear in results. So you can make a change, and then all of a sudden I'm like, huh? That looks worse. I'm going back to what I was doing before. And that's the tough part about complexity, is not all change means you're taking 2 steps forward. Sometimes you're taking that step back. And can you deal with that complexity? Can you deal with that change to keep going with it? Because if not, you get something, but you're only always going to get that freeze frame. It takes that change. And so I got a little bit better, and then I was like really proud of myself. I was like, yeah. And I sent it to my friend, and she did something that no woman, or at least not this woman, ever wanted. She wrote the word heavy across my midsection. But what she was highlighting was I still really wasn't straight up. And when you're not straight up, it's harder to hold it, right? And so I was like, oh, more change, right? I'm still not there. And that's the hard part with change, is it's not linear. It doesn't always mean that you can feel the progress right away. So it's tempting to just go back to what you already know, but that's not going to help you in complexity. It's not going to help you discover. So instead, be careful about overwhelming yourself with change. Now, this is kind of dated a little bit, but I was thinking about this, and I was like, when was a time that I did really overwhelm my team with change and had to really pull this back? And this was probably around 2010-ish time frame. I was the director of development, and we wanted to let's get real. I went to a conference, learned some things, and came back as what I call Conference Tricia, and it was like, we're going to do all the things, right? And one of the things I was like, we had 18-month releases. I'm like, feasible daily deploy. We had literally no setup in our environment to move from 18-month down to feasible daily deploy. But I was like, feasible daily deploy. Terrified my entire engineering department. terrified. I was like, oh, okay, let's pull it back. Let's pull it back. Let's maybe just look a little at some CI first. Let's explore some automation. Let's look for different tools and things along those lines. And for some of you, this sounds crazy, but this was 2010, and that was still a time when we were bringing the server down on Easter morning because that was when the least amount of users were there. And so I had to really think about what are the smaller steps? What can we not overwhelm everybody with the change all at once? Going from 18-month release to feasible daily deploy was too much. It causes you to react to that change, and you can't see the progress along the way. So really pay attention in your workplaces as to how much are you overwhelming that change, again, to that bigger goal that might be noble, might be wonderful, might be the thing very much you want, but it's hard to stay with. Keep that resilience towards in the complexity of it. Third one, learning means unknown. Now, again, kind of obvious. If you're learning something, not only do you got to change things, but also you're learning something because you don't know it. But we lie. I love this saying, but mine a little bit more is more than just but the risk, is I'll be like, just in case. My name is Tricia Broderick. I still love a good risk register. I'll own it. I do like risk management. I do like thinking about the risk, but the problem is sometimes that terrifies me because it seems scary. I want to be successful. I want my teams to be successful. And risk is always inherent in complexity, and yet, at least personally, I feel like I'm kind of prone to trying to avoid it, right? Trying to minimize it in a way that honestly you can't control, but I still try to. And so there's always going to be unknowns. There's always going to be unknowns. Here I was starting to think, okay, I'm getting better at this. I'm starting to get this down. I know what I'm doing now. I can walk up to this wall. That used to take me 5 minutes and then I'd be exhausted right away. Now I can get up there, I can hold it, it's not a problem. Perfect. I know what I'm doing. And now I get on top of what Adam Grant calls Mount Stupid, because I feel really cocky and confident. And then that unknown comes back around. He thought it was funny and amazing. I realized I didn't know how to fall. I had no idea that I actually needed to learn how to actually come down and not hurt my dog, right? It was not even a concept that I had thought about at all while I was doing it. And that's the unknowns. They're not just things that you don't know. They smack you in the face. They hit you in a way that you're like, oh, that seems really obvious. I feel like I should have known that. And yet, I didn't. And so then we tell ourselves things that we're like, well, if I had just worried about the risk, I would have gotten better at this earlier. And we start trying to find control over it versus embracing the fact that they're just going to happen. And that's what helps you to learn what you need to learn next, is the next unknown that comes up. And so I like to think of when I'm thinking about complexity, I like to think of the fact that I'm trying to explore. What steps would help me explore? Maybe not even make a decision. We all hear about last responsible moment, making a decision, holding on the decision as long as you can, right? But I like thinking about even just the steps to consider. When I had an editor, a publisher that was asking me to write a book, and I was like, I can get on a stage for days, no problem. I can't write a book. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But I kept the risk was too great for me. It was too terrifying for me. It felt overwhelming on top of it, and then I was carrying a bunch of baggage. And so I had all these elements that were coming into play. So I started taking some steps. I met with one author, and I was like, well, what was hard for you? What did you like? What did you not like? And then I waited months before I went and talked to somebody else. And I was like, okay. And then I went and I talked to somebody else. I kept taking intentional steps that helped me explore. Not just validate what I already chose or didn't choose, but to just get curious. The steps didn't have a purpose other than to unlock unknowns, other than to discover what else was possible, what else was happening, what else did I not even realize mattered. And as much as the steps that I did take, there were still even more that I needed to take that I didn't realize. I've learned so much about the publishing world with it. But even taking those little bit of steps helped me to break down some of the complexity of it. It didn't matter. It wasn't about writing the book or not writing the book. It was sometimes the security that you needed to feel writing the book. The understanding of why you were writing the book or what you were trying to accomplish and your goals with it. And by taking those various steps, it's not about the decision in that moment. It's about discovering the unknowns. It's about starting to explore so that you may make a different decision or make the same decision, but you feel a little bit less risk terrified as a result of it. Doesn't mean the risk went away. Doesn't mean the decision's perfect. But those little bit of steps that didn't have a focus on a check mark. And I love me a check mark. I make lists of lists just to get my check mark. But when you're doing the steps just to explore, it's about curiosity. It's about seeing what's out there. And when you're dealing with complexity, that is essential. Because you won't always know all the unknowns. And the minute you think you do, welcome to Dunning-Kruger. Because it's just not realistic. Learning takes time. If you had told me that I would be talking about this all this time later, I absolutely would have said, no point now. Right? Why bother? I've already missed the boat. Why now? No point. And honestly, there are days that if I had known I was going to be doing this over and over and over again every single day, I might have made a different choice on that January 1st. But that's what resilience is being committed, is digging in when it gets hard, when it feels monotonous, when it feels challenging, and why bother? I'm not getting it. And then you look at a YouTube video, it's like 6 weeks to a handstand. They lie. They lie. And if one of you comes up to me afterwards and you're like, you just got to do the core, I will hit you. Just going to tell you that, because I've watched every YouTube video that's out there. Wasn't doing it for me. I wouldn't actually hit you organizers, I promise. That's not, right? But that's a dynamic that comes into play, is the amount of time it takes to learn, to keep exploring, especially in complexity, is exhausting. It feels never ending. And especially as somebody who likes her check marks, this was tough for me. And so you really have to find a community when you're learning. If you're learning about AI and it feels like you're already behind the goalpost, that it feels like even some of the sessions today, I was like, oh, I thought I was doing pretty good, but now, apparently not so much. And it already feels late, it can be tempting to just throw up your arms, walk away. What's the point? But a community will help challenge you in that. It's one of the reasons that it's so powerful in workplaces is when you truly feel that supportive, connected, collaborative environment is because you're in it together. We all can sit back and remember that project that you were on coding, maybe some of you are still doing this right now, at 2 in the morning because it's due at 7 to release. You get a bonus if it releases on time. We're all there. We're trying to get that last bit done. We got to get the defect count down a little bit further, right? We're in that final crunch period that's lasted 4 months. And every time I've been in one of those situations, they're the people that when they come into town, we're like, let's go get a beer. You build your support network in that community. And as much as people will say, well, developers, they don't like people. I'm a developer, or I was a developer. I like people. I don't like mean people. I don't like all people, but I like people. Community isn't about having to go to a party or doing karaoke or a trust fall. Community is about when it's tough, who are you reaching out to? Who's posting the comment on LinkedIn for you? Who's speaking up? Who's sitting in the front row to support you, right? That's your community that shows up in ways that you didn't even know you needed or wanted until it's there. And when you have those moments, you get a little bit of like, okay, this really stinks, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep doing this. This photo is actually from an Agile conference. On the far left is Alistair Coburn. So he did keep his word in the original post of like, me too. And he did get up there in that handstand and on it as well. And then Reese Schmidt is also, I'm in the middle. But that community is the people that sometimes I'll text that text. Oh my gosh, today was horrible. Some of you have already texted that. Hopefully not about this session. But it's who you reach out to for that support or who you celebrate with. I remember the first person I called in my first keynote and just like super excited, and I couldn't wait to tell him, and I was so excited just because I knew he was going to look at me with pride and like give me a big bear hug. It was so amazing, right? So it can be both in like the support of the moments where you're low and you feel like no point now, and moments when you're like, okay, let's keep going. Because in complexity, it's going to take time to learn. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be complex. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you're in that moment. Last one I want to talk about when it comes to complexity and learning is it means failure. Now, I already mentioned that I have this obsessive need for a check mark. And it's really bad, people. Like, anybody else have one of those Franklin Covey planner things? Like, anybody else have those? Oh, none of you are going to admit to it? Fine. But, like, I kept mine way too long just because I could make a physical check mark until people started mocking me for it, so then I had to let it go. But I love it. And I wanted my check mark. I've been doing this journey and learning and trying and doing all these things, and I wanted my check mark badly. But it doesn't mean that I wasn't going to have failure. So don't worry, I'll let you watch it again. I did have to lay there for a good several minutes after that. Like, I did knock the wind out of myself. But someone on a YouTube video had said, just dig in on your fingers. If you just dig in with your fingers, it will be breaks and you'll stop. I didn't stop, people, and it hurt. But I got back up, and I thought, okay, learning means failure. So there is something about your fingers being breaks, but clearly not the way that I did it. And if I didn't do this, now I've never done this again, right? But if I didn't do this, I would not have realized that it wasn't simply just pushing on your fingers. I had to learn through the failure. And it gets easy for us to say things, well, but I want my check mark. Fine, game the metrics. I worked for TechSmith, and we make Camtasia Studios, so I just slowed the video down. I'll just slow the video down. I'll get my check mark. But we can't do that in those regards, because when we game metrics, trying to avoid failures, we're not learning. We're doing it to play games. And that's not going to be helpful for anybody. Although it did make me feel a little bit better about myself just to see a video, even though it was fake and still gave me a little bit of happiness for a split moment. And so one of the things that I want to call to attention is we get so focused on our goals in the workplace, that success factor. And in complexity, nothing's a straight line. Nothing's even like, just take these steps and you'll be done in this amount of time and it'll be beautiful. It just doesn't work like that. And one of the things that makes me so sad is that we don't recognize unexpected achievements. Only the goal is the achievement. Only the goal was the check mark. And yet, I started doing things I could not do before. But I wasn't celebrating any of this because it wasn't the handstand, it wasn't 10 seconds. This is impressive to so many people. And I was like, not the goal, not valuable. And I started thinking about in the workplace how many times I thought of my success only as a title or only as a certain project or only as a certain situation, that I wasn't recognizing all the achievements that were happening on this journey that was taking a long time, that was difficult, that wasn't linear. And when you're not recognizing other unexpected achievements along your journey, you're missing out. Because I hate to tell you, nobody's going to talk about whether or not your project was on time at the end. Nobody's going to talk. And if they do, I'm really kind of disturbed for you. People are going to talk about the impact you're making on other people, how you inspired somebody, how you didn't inspire somebody, what difference you made, how you supported them, what part of the communities you were in. Yes, you may discover and invent something that's really cool, but still, even those inventions, even those models, even those things that you build, why people talk about it is the impact that it had. I actually got to meet Kent for the first time today, physically, and I read his book in 1999. I was teaching a financial institution as the lead developer how to write a J2E web app. I was just so happy to not be in COBOL. And today was the first time I actually got to say thank you. Not because of XP, but because of the journey that it took me on. The impact it had on me in the 90s. I like to pretend I was like 10 then. But that's the dynamic of thinking about what those impacts are, what that means, and what that does for people. And so if you're not recognizing your unexpected achievements along your journey, you're missing out on the very things that other people are so grateful for. That little bit of support you gave somebody, that little bit of opportunity makes all the difference. But you have to also be willing to recognize it. To not just look at that one goal and decide your whole success on that one goal, but your success is based on everything you contribute. So if I look at these inhibitors, this is really challenging then when it comes to embracing complexity. Because at that point, this just makes me sad. This is just hard. And then I have that momentary panic. What if I never get it? What if I never get there? And someone made this comment to me. Someone in my community made this comment. They said, well, you won't if you stop. And it hit me right in the core. Like when someone says something to you and you're like, dang it. Dang it. So I kept going. And exactly at 18 months to the day, I finally got it. Now, I want to point out my, at the time, 17-year-old daughter was sitting in the room next to us. I'm screaming, and she went, what? I was like, you didn't see that? That was amazing. This is why I record every day, people. I record every day of my practice because my daughter did not care in the least bit. Now, if I ended this presentation right here, I look like a rock star, right? I'm like, yeah, look it. I was resilient. I stayed with it. I got my check mark. I've never done it again, people. Not once. I did think I got it once at a health fitness place, but I wasn't recording because it felt creepy to record at a gym. So I didn't record it, and I'm fairly confident it was 10 seconds. I almost made somebody else do a testimonial. But I've never gotten it. Now, I'll get 5-second ones. I actually now get one 5-second one at least once a day in my 30-minute practice every day. But I'm not consistent at all. I've never gotten this again. And so I start thinking about it, well, then should I just be done? And that's the dynamic of complexity and resilience. There is no done. There's no done. And so I start thinking about elements of, well, what's next then? What do I need to learn next? How do I want to level up next? What's that going to mean? I got it once, but now do I want to try and get consistent? I got it once, but do I want to try and do it on this stage in red heels? Right? I got it once, but do I want to be able to do one of those press ones? I don't think, I'm not, that now I'm going back to my overwhelming thought process, right? But that's the interesting part about learning. It was never about the check mark. That's the thing about resilience. It was never about the check mark. It was about the journey. It was about what was happening as you were continuing to level yourself up, yourself and others. And so these are 4 pieces to the puzzle when it comes to resilience that you have to be intentional about, that you have to invest in yourself and others because it takes resilience with it. And that's the interesting part, is how you build resilience is by being resilient. But when you do that path, when you invest, when you continue to invest in yourself and others, you might just be surprised at what's possible. I didn't think I could do half the crap that I can do now. I certainly didn't think I would turn this into a keynote talk. I'm not sure how long I'll be able to continue doing this one, but it's cool to see what's possible. And so with that, I'm going to see what's possible today. As I internally vomit a little bit. I'm going to use this block right here, which is a weird thing to do, but I just got to warm up the hands just a little bit before I try this. I'm going to do all my disclaimers while I'm warming up just a little bit because someone once told me, if you fall, it just makes the point of resilience better. So that's what I keep telling myself right now. If I fall, it just will make it point better. But if you do not and have never done a handstand, please do not try one right after this session on behalf of the organizing committee and so that I may be invited back again someday, okay? 2, do not approach me to tell me your little technique unless you are actually a gymnast or in the circus. 3, I have no idea what's going to happen. And as much as I said, I don't get nervous speaking anymore, I will say this is the dumbest thing I have chosen to do to myself on a stage at the end of the day, is to go up on my hands when I'm slightly shaky. Fantastic. Not the brightest person. So typically I have to kick up once or twice first before I can find it, and then hopefully I'll get at least a second or 2 holds. Let me be clear, it will not be a 10-second hold, okay? But my best so far is 3 seconds, but we'll see. I haven't ever done it this late in the night. By the way, this also very much changes your keynote outfits. So just reference. Okay. Actually, I'm going to do crow first just to warm up my hands a little bit more because, again, it's late in the day. Okay. And I'm so sweaty right now, I have handprints on the stage. That's not a good sign. Okay, so here we go. My name is Tricia Broderick. Keep building your resilience. This world needs all of us to keep moving forward. Thank you for spending your evening with me. Enjoy your networking.
Tricia Broderick, everyone.